Welcome to Birder's Diary. This tutorial will give you a brief intro to the new JukeBox birdsong feature. You can get there from the new blue button in the toolbar with the two musical notes on it, or from the Features drop down, Birdsong Jukebox and Quizzes, or Control J shortcut. What you see here are the four windows that come up when you first start the jukebox feature the very first time. The main window on the left is the main control center, and then the three windows on the right are supporting features. One at the top shows you audio info such as the author, the location, the recording date, and so on. The one in the middle shows you your song history, what you have played so far in this session. And then the one at the bottom is an active sonogram that will be displayed if Zenocanto has a sonogram for the audio downloaded here. You can close the windows on the right at any time and reopen them by clicking the appropriate button on the main window. However you leave this when you close this main window is how they will appear when you bring it back up. So let's close it. Now we're going to bring it back up, and you see that the history window is no longer in there. First, a little bit of background on how this came to be. Myself and various users of Birder's Diary wanted something that could teach you how to differentiate birds and learn bird songs, just be a birdsong player, or just quickly play a multitude of songs for any species that interests you. And that is what this does. It leverages the immense audio recording library from Zenocanto, graciously made available through an application programming interface. So let's take those features one at a time. First, let's say that you just want to hear what a certain bird sounds like, and you want to play lots of different audio recordings for that bird. Let's say, for example, that you've just learned about a Lincoln sparrow, and you want to hear what that sounds like, what his songs sound like, its calls, and so on. This can do that. So you open up this window and you come down here to play random audio for any name. You type in Lincoln sparrow. This is a smart search field, so you can just enter in parts of it. Then you tab over and you click play this name. And what's going to come up are various songs for the Lincoln sparrow. Now, while this is playing, you can see up here in the audio info who the author was, where it was recorded, Minnesota, the United States, the date, and so on. The score was A, the type of song, and so on. At any point in time here, you can stop or next. It will continue playing from the vast library of recordings here. Here you see we've got a call, a type call from a Lincoln sparrow. No sonogram is available for this audio recording from Zenocanto. In the history here you see that we have now listened to Lincoln sparrows. This is being the second. Let's go ahead and click next. Downloads again, and we've got type song. And you can hear that. Okay. Now let me point out a couple other features. Right down here under that name is maximum playtime for each audio. Many of the recordings in Zenocanto can be quite long. There's some in there that are 5, 6, 7 minutes long or more. Sometimes when you're doing jukebox playing or quiz playing, you want to set the limit for how long you want it to play before you move on to the next audio. So this slider allows you to go from 5 seconds to no limit. I've got it set for a convenient of 28 seconds in my player. Let's look at some of the other features. Another thing you might do when you're using the player and just playing songs is you might decide to keep the screen on, no screensaver. So that will disable the screensaver. There's another option here that says fetch only A quality recordings. Zenocanto scores all of its recordings on a letter scale, A, B, or so on. Typically A are the best, so I typically only fetch that. Down here you get to choose type. The types are song, call, or other, and when you click other you get to specify, well, I just want to hear drumming. Let's say you're trying to listen to some woodpecker recordings. Okay, and you can do that. Let's say we had this set to all for that, but maybe for Lincoln sparrow all we want to do is listen to song. Let's try it now. Remember, when I click this, it will play repeatedly, over and over, downloading one new song after another for this. Notice it only downloads and plays a song. And you can see that the sonogram is going along, an amplitude scale on the bottom and a frequency scale on top. I can say next, and again, it will only play a song type. Get a good idea. Now let's say, for example, I'm really only interested in those that have been recorded in Colorado. I can type in here. Now let's play again. And you'll only get recordings for Colorado for type song quality A. It allows you to compare differences, if you're interested in that, between regions where the bird might occur. Those are the basic concepts of that. Now let's move on to the other two features of this JukeBox player, and that is of quizzing me on a set of birds that I have defined, or just being a song player, playing songs and vocalizations of a list of birds that I define once again. In order to do that, I first have to define a list of birds, and you do that down here with the Manage Lists button. I'm going to click on that, and let's say I want to build a list and I want to learn the differences between the 4 Maiarchus flycatchers that occur down here where I live in the winter. They confuse the heck out of me and I need help learning them. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create the list. I'm going to type in here Maiarchus flycatchers. I'm going to click over, type add new. Now, there's several ways to add birds to your list. Down below is the list. Up above is 2 different ways to add it. Add by location, specify taxonomy, and either add all species cited at that location or all species linked to that location. In other words, birds on your checklist. But here, since I know the 4 Maiarchus flycatchers I want to add, I'm just going to add them randomly. I have a test feature here that says check to make sure the name that I enter is recognized by Xenocanto. Xenocanto typically follows IOC naming conventions. So if you're used to using Clements or ABA or AOS, then they sometimes won't match. This will always test to make sure the name you're adding matches a real name recognized by Xenocanto. Alternately, you can just enter a name and click Test Name without adding it to the list. So I'm going to add these Maiarchus flycatchers. Flycatcher, ash-throated. I just click Add, and it's doing a check. Notice it says down here in the status, checking xenocanto.org for ash-throated flycatcher. If it passes, it will correctly add the name to the list. If it doesn't, it will alert you. Brown crested flycatcher, let's add that. Dusky capped flycatcher, let's add that. And then finally, Nutting's flycatcher. Just enter, enter. And now I've added all 4. Now I have my list and I can go quiz myself on that. So let's take the quiz. I'm going to close this out. The first thing I'm going to do is select my list I just created. Maiarchus flycatchers, there it is. Now tab over off of that and you can see that the list gets populated automatically. Now I want to quiz myself on this list, so I'm going to click on Quiz Me. Right away what happens is up comes this little box here. It has this how-to button on here, how to use this and how to select your answers. Essentially, when you pick Quiz Me, it puts the focus right here, and you can use your arrow buttons to move up and down and pick what you think you had there. Now, what do we think I had there? Maybe a Nuttings? So I'm going to press enter to select my choice. I got it right. The first one's done. Let's continue. And the history will not populate until after you've chosen your guess here. Let's go again. So now what I do is just Alt Q, hold down the Alt key and press Q to activate Quiz Me. And you'll see that this grid gets focused immediately, where I can use my up and down arrow keys, my page up and page down, to select the appropriate answer. So let's do that. Just downloading the next one. I don't know. Brown crested? I said I'm not very good at these. Sorry, try again. Ash throated? Got it right on the next one. Now this keeps track of total played, correct guesses, incorrect guesses. So I'm batting 500 here. Now, same process once again. Alt Q to quiz me again go on to the next bird. It will stop after playing for the allotted time if you haven't guessed, and give you time to think about it. Well, that's a good one. You can also play again. Well, I want to hear that again. I'm going to guess dusky capped. No. Brown crested? No. Apparently we have a lot of nuttings down here. Okay. Now you can take this box and move it wherever you want down here so we can see what's going on over here, and then now here's the list. So let's quiz again. I want to say brown crested. I got one right. Let's quiz again. Alt Q. Oh my. Nuttings flycatcher? No. Dusky cap this time. So this goes on, and that's how you quiz yourself against a list of birds. Here's your history, and here's your list. And it will go on and on forever, as long as you want to keep quizzing. There's no better way to learn these songs and how to separate these birds in the field simply by voice. That's the quiz portion of this. Now let's move on to the final feature here, and honestly one of my favorites. I love to have some bird songs playing in the background, whether for dinner, whether I'm writing code on Birder's Diary, doing customer support, or whatever it is. I love to have a list of birds playing. So I've made a list, and to show you this, all I did was I went here and I made a list of birds that I have sighted here at my location. Now there's actually 173 where I live, basically. I took out 21 of them because no one wants to hear a cormorant or a couple of ducks or a couple of egrets. So I trimmed that list down, and I essentially used this, that, and said all species sighted at location. Boom, it immediately adds them. Now there are times when Xenocanto doesn't recognize a name, so I come back here, I remove that name, and I add a name that I know Xenocanto does like. They're all alphabetical. So this is how I created my playlist for just the birds I have sighted here and I want to hear over and over. What I'll often do for that playlist is you'll select it, key off. I turn off the screensaver so the screensaver doesn't come on. I set my limit to 28 seconds. I only want A quality. Typically I just want songs. Sometimes I'll play all, but sometimes just songs. And that's it. And now it's as simple as play the songs. Now just to show you another one real quick, I can just go ahead and select one and say play selected from this list. It'll play whatever I've got in there if I want to hear it. It'll just download one of the many recordings of that bird at random and play it. But now let's play songs. Now here's a neat part. I have the name bar at the top. So I can see this from across the room from the dining room table where I'm eating dinner. I want to know what bird that is. You can stretch this, size this to wherever you want. You can also adjust the font size, make it bigger or smaller. I have it set on a medium size right there. But you can blow that up or down, whatever you like. Whatever works for you. Okay, that happens to work for me. and this will just continually play. Wait a second, I wanted to hear that cinnamon bellied saltator again. You can come back here and that will play the exact same recording from Zeno Canto again, not just one of the many, but that exact same one. It remembers the exact same audio recording that it played, and it will play it again. Okay, you get the information up here and everything. We can stop that and we can go back to just playing random songs over and over. One other thing I want to point out is the status bar down here. It tells you what it's doing, whether it's fetching an audio, looking up an audio, and so on. Here we are loading and playing. That completes this tutorial for the new Birdsong JukeBox feature.